Good morning, class. Welcome to this session of Strategic Financial Management. In our last class, we were discussing this particular problem where, even though it was given under net operating income approach, we had to calculate it according to net income approach. And I hope all of you have calculated weighted average cost of capital. And according to this problem, both cost of capital and weighted average cost of capital, the answer would be one and same, because here we have assumed the weights. Yes, otherwise how would be the weights assigned? Yes, how would be the weights assigned otherwise? What does weight signifies? What is weight? Now when we tell weighted average cost of capital, what does weight signifies? Weight signifies market value of each of the shares. Yes, and because it is market value, it will not be constant. How the market changes and how demand and supply of that particular share changes in the market, according to that, market prices would be constantly changing. Average, the meaning of average is nothing but when you will have to divide, you tend to tell it as average. What does cost signifies in weighted average cost of capital? Faster. Now when you tell weighted average cost of capital, what does cost signifies? Haven't you learned when we discussed regarding weighted average cost of capital? Yes. You can turn your pages and see. Yes. Cost represents the return expected on each of the shares. Okay? That you should not forget. What does weight and cost signifies? Weight signifies the market value of each of the share. Cost signifies the return expected of each of the share. Now, did you understand? Yes, did you all understand? Yes, you understood that, I am sure. But will you all remember this? For remembering, you'll have to go back and see it once again. So fifth one, has everyone calculated? Did cost of capital and weighted average cost of capital was same? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. Any doubts are there? Yes, if you have, you'll have to clear it now. Because if you keep for later times, then everything might be confusing. Is there any doubt? No. Okay. So shall we continue? Okay. Until this point, what did we assume? What is the first assumption of, all this approach, capital structure theory? What is the first assumption that we make? There is no corporate tax. But take into consideration today's market scenario or business environment. Do you think, being a corporate, that there is no rules that you'll not have to pay tax, or is it compulsory on your part? Yes. When your CSR itself is compulsory, don't you think paying tax is also compulsory? Yes. So what if in the sen by a chance in your examination, the problem specifically they give, solve it in under NI approach or NOI approach, and what if they mention about tax also? How will you solve it? Okay. Before that, tell me, you know what is capital structure, correct? You know what is capital of every other organization is made of. What is it made of? What is it made of? What is capital of any organization made of? Yes, what do we tell it in terms of SFM? Debt and, yeah, correct? We call it as debt and equity. Okay. Now, when do you think debt becomes compulsory? Or where? Where is debt compulsory? Which kind of company is it compulsory? See, it is a corporate organization. Whether you make your capital out of debt, either of equity, whether it is going to affect the government rules and regulations. No, when it comes for paying tax, does it matter? The government will not ask you whether did you get, whether did you give equity. All that it wants is you pay tax. So when does it matter? Tax. Any kind of organization will have to pay. Yes, but then because your capital structure is made of debt or equity, whenever your capital is having debt in its portion, there will be some kind of benefit for the firm in terms of paying tax. Why? Because in our earlier illustration, we have also solved and we have seen when debt is there, we'll have to pay the, what is it? Interest. Okay. For debt, you will pay interest. When you pay interest, what happens? The net income available for paying tax becomes lesser, because when you have earning before interest and tax, you would deduct interest, and whatever you get as earning before tax, on that part you will pay tax. Yes or no? Yes. So it is said tax, paying tax is compulsory, but then whenever debt is there in the capital structure, it is going to provide some kind of benefit. Okay. I guess you can take down. Now, even before that, now what happens is that usually when you speak in terms of financial management, whichever organization has debt in its capital structure, you call it as levered firms. Okay, Levered. Now, whichever organization has debt in its capital structure, you call it as levered firm. Whichever organization's capital structure is only made of equity, you tend to call it as unlevered firm. Okay? In earlier discussions also, we have said in between that leverage provides tax benefits. What does that mean? That means the capital structure has debt in its portion, and because of the debt, the company will get benefit. Fine? Are you able to follow, or should I make it still simpler? If I'll have to make it still simpler, your concentration should be on what I am telling. Okay? Now, usually the assumption of capital structure here is that there is no corporate tax. Yes, that definitely stands for both the theories or all the theories. But then now we'll have to think practically also. Now whether it is India or any of the country, wherever a corporate organization is there, yes, they will have to pay what is called as tax. Now, tax is compulsory payment irrespective of the fact whether the capital structure of a company is made out of debt or equity, or entirely debt or entirely equity. On what you earn, you will have to pay tax. But then, according to the theories or in practical sense also, whenever an organization is having debt in the capital structure, they will get some kind of benefit in the payment of tax. Okay? Now, how do they get benefit is, remember how we used to solve the accounts? Yes? How do we calculate? How do we come to the point where we tell that whatever profit is remaining, it belongs to equity shareholders? Yes? First, we would be calculating operating profit. Now, operating profit is nothing but because of the basic work of your organization, what you have earned is called as operating profit. Now, usually out of this profit, you will have to pay interest and the tax. Okay. So, operating profit, if at all there is no other information given, it would be considered as earning before interest and tax. Okay. Now, out of this profit, what we have, first we will have to pay the interest. Interest is usually paid because you would have taken some kind of loan, some kind of monetary benefit from the outsiders. Okay. So, whenever it is company, first its obligation is that it pays whatever it has taken. So, once after you deduct interest, whatever would be remaining would be called as earning before tax. Okay. Now, that is the amount on which we'll have to pay the tax. Okay. According to what has been mentioned, according to the rules of the government, so much portion out of this profit we'll have to pay. Okay. Now, imagine two companies, company A and company B. Company A will have, maybe both the company has a capital structure of 1 lakh each. Now, company A will be having 50,000 in form of debt, 50,000 in the form of equity. Whereas company B, its entire capital structure would be made out of equity shares. That is the first. Okay. And maybe the operating profit would be around 50,000 once again. Okay. And interest rate would be 10%. Fine. Now, do you remember whenever I said two companies, their operating profit would be 50,000 each. Their capital structure is of 1 lakh. Company A's capital structure is made of debt and equity both of 50,000 each. Whereas company B's capital structure is wholly made out of equity. Okay, for that matter, we shall also take into consideration one more company, company C, whose entire capital would be made out of debt, 1 lakh. Now, EBIT stands at 50,000 each for all the three companies. Yes, earning before interest and tax. Now, first thing what we'll have to do is deduct the interest. How much would be the interest? 10% on the value of debt. So, for company A, it would be standing at 5,000. For company B, it is 0. And for company C, it would be 10,000. So, now what is the amount remaining in the form of earning before tax? It is 45,000, 50,000 and 40,000. Okay, it is 45,000, 50,000 and 40,000. Now, whatever might be the rate of tax. Now, which company has highest earnings in its hand will have to pay more tax. So, the company A would maybe 30% is the tax amount. What is 30% on 45,000? 9 plus 4 and half, 13 and half. Yes, 13,500. For second one, it is 30,000. No, 40,000. 50,000, 30%, 15,000. And for the third one, 12,000. So who is paying the highest? Second one. Why? Because they are not having any benefit in the form of debt. Okay. Now, if at all tax is given, how to calculate? That is the question. Okay. And as I said, we call it as okay, you can take down the heading as if there is corporate tax. What happens if there is corporate tax? Take down debt will provide benefit will provide benefit to the firm because of the tax advantage. Yes. What did I tell? Debt will provide. Okay. Therefore, the value of the therefore the value of the levered firm is greater is greater than an unlevered firm. Symbolically, VL, see, look into this. Symbolically, VL is equal to VU plus BT. Okay. Now here this T should have been like this. Okay. It's nothing but B into T. Now here VL represents value of levered firm. BU represents value of unlevered firm. B represents amount of debt and T represent tax rate. Okay. Yes. Now see the sixth question. Should it be in the form of PPT or this is fine for you all? This is fine? Okay. Yes. Look into the question. Company X and company Y both are company X and company Y both are in the same risk class and are identical in every respect, except that company X uses debt while company Y doesn't. The levered firm has rupees 9 lakh debentures carrying 10% rate of interest both the firm earns 20%, both the firm earns 20% operating profit on their total assets of rupees 15 lakh. Assume perfect capital market, rational investor, and so on. The tax rate is 35%, 35%, and capitalization is 15%. A. Compute the value of the firm X and Y using NI approach, and B. Compute the value of firm X and Y using NOI approach. So now what are the things given? The first is that you'll have to compute the value of the firm both under net income approach and net operating income approach. Now remember, both are given by one person, yes, and both are drastically opposite of each other. Okay. Now remember how you used to calculate NI approach, EBIT, deduct interest, then because there was no tax, you used to directly consider it as net income approach. But since they have specifically given here the tax is 35%, before considering the amount to be net income available to equity shareholders, you'll have to deduct the tax. Okay? Fine. That is all the difference because of the tax that would happen under net income approach. But under net operating income approach, how we would calculate the value of the company is quite different. Okay. So whatever formula you have taken down, VL is equal to VU plus VT, that you would be substituting to calculate the value of the firm under NOI approach. Okay. So both of them we shall see it separately, but before that, see your question, what are the things that has been given. So now which is the levered firm? Right? Yes. So whenever debt is there in the capital structure, that particular company we can consider it as a levered firm. Okay. And according to this problem, it is company X. So what is the amount of debt it is having? Yes, 9 lakhs. And this particular debt, in which form it is there? Yes. Say debt is there of rupees 9 lakh. What is the form of debt? Debentures. What is KD or KI? Yes, what is it? 10%. Okay. Now, what is the operating profit of both the companies? 20%. What is the amount of operating profit? 3 lakh. 20% on 15 lakh is how much? Okay. So your earning before tax, interest and tax or operating profit should be 20% on 15 lakh. And 20% on 15 lakh is 3 lakh. And they have also spoken regarding interest and of capitalization rate. Whenever it is capitalization rate, it simply means it represents KE. Now, where is KE helpful for you? Both NI and NOI approach. Under NI approach, once after you find out net income available for equity, you will have to find the value of shares. For that, you will need KE. From net income available, you will divide the KE so that you will get the value of equity. Yes. Under your NOI approach, it is necessary, and here in this problem, because of the way we will do, even there K is necessary. Okay. So first take down table showing the value of the firm, under NI approach. So what are the things you will have to take down? Yes, particulars, company X, company Y. If you need in brackets, you can mention which is the levered firm, which is the unlevered firm. Okay. The first one is EBIT. Here specifically they have not given it as EBIT, but then they have given information how we could calculate the operating profit. And they are telling that operating profit is 20% on 15 lakh. What is 15 lakh? What is 15 lakh? Who said 15 lakh is operating profit? Yes, it is total assets. Okay. They are telling here 20% on total assets of 15 lakh. Somewhere they might have given 20% on the total project outlay. See, for you what is necessary is 20% in the amount. They have given 20% operating profit. That is what you need. Okay. Some other question they might have given 20% on project outlay, and next information they might have given that project outlay is 20 lakh. So first thing what is important is you will have to understand the question. Okay. Yes. Now EBIT is 20% on 15 lakh, and it stands at 3 lakhs for company X and 3 lakh for company Y. So what we usually deduct from earning before interest and tax? Interest. Interest they have given that, yes, the levered firm has 9 lakh debentures carrying 10% rate of interest. And it is specific that one is levered firm, one is unlevered firm. And where this information they have given that one is levered and one is unlevered? Yes, class. Answer my question. In your question, where they have mentioned that which company has debt in its portion and which company doesn't. Where have they mentioned? Yes. And they are also being specific here that they are same in every other aspect except for this debt. So one company is having debt, the other is not having any debt. So on 9 lakh, if it is 10,000, so what is the amount of interest? Okay. And this 90,000 will be there for only company X. And company Y, because it is unlevered firm, it is not having any kind of debt. So what is the earning before tax or earning after deducting interest? 2 lakh, 10,000 and 3 lakh. So when it is earning before tax, what is the next thing we'll have to do? Tax will have to deduct. What is the rate of tax? 35%. 35% on what we'll have to calculate? EBT. So 35% on 2 lakh 10,000 is how much? Correct? Okay. It is 73,500. And what is 35% on 3 lakh? 1 lakh 5,000. The doubt is whether did you all calculate or did you copy? Okay. So what is earning after tax EAT? Okay. In Y company, 1 lakh 95,000. So once you have net income available for equity shareholders, how will you proceed to calculate value of the company? Ni divided by Ke would give you the value of company. Share? Okay. So S is equal to Ni divided by Ke. So what is the value of equity in levered firm? Yes, 9 lakh 10,000 and unlevered firm 13 lakh. Okay, yes. Now stop doing, and two things you should remember. Okay, whenever we tell levered company, it means a portion of the capital structure is made out of debt, but that doesn't mean there is no equity. Now, because equity is a obligation, okay? Irrespective of debt is there, debt is not there, all the corporate companies will have equity, undoubtedly. So, here that's why you have equity's value, okay? Here interest only for company X you are having because out of entire capital, a part is made out of debt. Now, debt can be there, cannot be there, but equity is definitely going to be there. That is first thing. Second one, see here, earning before tax. Because of debt, here the tax is less. Why? Because interest here we have deducted, that's why earnings we got less, and on earnings when we calculate the tax, it would be less compared to the company which has no debt in its capital structure. Okay? Yes. Now proceed. Once you have the value of equity, you will need the value of debt. And the value of debt is only X company has it. Okay? Because it is levered company. And the value stands at 9 lakh. And company X is having this 9 lakh in the form of debentures. What are debentures? See now, what is the difference between a loan or debenture? Only institutions can provide loan. Okay, we shall finish this off. We shall come to that topic later on. Okay. Now, under net income approach, how do we calculate the value of the firm? When we add both the value of equity and value of debt, we'll be getting the total value of firm. So symbolically we can represent V is equal to S plus B. So value of company X is 18 lakh 10,000 and company Y is 13 lakh. Your problem stops here. Okay. But usually under NI approach, first we'll calculate the value of debt. Then usually we used to calculate cost of equity. Cost of equity or cost of capital? What does KO represents? It is KE because equity, E and KE. Okay, KO represent overall cost of capital. KE has been specifically given to be 15% in the question. Capitalization is 15%. Do not get confused. Okay. So K naught is equal to EBIT divided by V, if at all you want. Now, it is your duty. You will have to give any working note or conclusion. I will not be telling. Okay, class? You will have to give working notes and conclusion. And if working note and conclusion are not there for your internals, definitely I am going to deduct the mark. Your problem, if the answer is there, that is not enough. Maybe 60% of the marks I would give if it is only table. For your working note and conclusion, you will be getting the other 40%. Fine? Because your working note and conclusions are the two things which would let evaluator know whether you have understood the topic or not. Fine? Is 15%. What is capitalization? When do you tell capitalization? For what we tell capitalization? Yes, otherwise it would be overall capitalization, right? When you tell overall, It is of both KO. When simply they have given capitalization or equity capitalization, it represents KE. See now, because there was some kind of confusion, that can be regarded as one of the working note. Fine. Now moving on, the next, yes, either you write or make it a point that you will have to write conclusion there. I am not going to tell. Usually I never used to tell, only for one problem I used to tell. Now almost 10 to 12 problems I have given the conclusion and also working note. So now at least for the last one you write. If it is under net operating income approach. Usually how would be the table? Table is specifically made for calculating value of the company. Yes. How usually NI approach would be? NOI approach would be? Yes. K naught would be there. And directly you find the value of company. Yes. But then here tax is there. Before calculating the value of the firm, the tax should be deducted. Yes. Okay. That's why the formula which was we spoke regarding a levered firm and unlevered firm. VL is equal to VU plus VT. That we are going to substitute and directly we would be getting the value of the firm. If at all under NOI approach they have given. Okay. Yes, can take down for question B. Value of company X and company Y under NOI approach. What is the formula? VU plus VT. Only one formula we have, right? If we substitute, we have to get the answer. But then one formula, two companies, how to get the value of both? There is one formula and we have to find out the value of two firms, company X and company Y. How do you think we can get it? Yeah, I knew. What does VL represent? Value of leveraged company. What does VU represent? Unlevered. One is company X, one is company Y. Okay, that's how you would be getting the answer. Fine. Now take down the formula VL is equal to VU plus VT. But the problem with this particular formula is that we know only V and T. Neither VL we know nor do we know VU. Okay. So here we'll have to take one more formula. okay, through which we can find out the value of VU. Fine. Once we find VU, then VL can be found out easily because we have both the value of V and T. What is the amount of debt? B represents amount of debt, right? What is the value of debt? 9 lakh, that is there. T represents tax rate. We have 35%. So in the formula we'll put 0.35. But we neither have the value of VIL or VU. So for finding out the value of unlevered firm, we have one formula which is VU is equal to EBIT 1 minus T divided by KE. This particular formula. VU is equal to EBIT 1 minus T. Yes, it's 1 minus T. What did I tell? 1 minus T. I guess I had made a mistake. I said I minus T. It's not I minus T. It's 1 minus T. Okay. I is very much different from 1. What is EBIT? 3 lakh. 1 stands the same. T is 35%. 35 divided by 100 is 0.35. And KE is 0.15. In the question, they have given it as 15%. So when you substitute 3 lakh into 1 minus 0.35 divided by 0.15. What is the value of unlevered firm? 13 lakh? Sure? Okay. So, according to this particular formula also, it was 13 lakh. I mean under the NI approach also. So now how will you calculate the value of levered firm? VU is what? Value of unlevered firm or company, why it is. All these things are necessary when you have to write the conclusion. So now value of levered firm you can directly calculate, right? VL is equal to VU plus BT. You have the formula itself, right? Yes, 13 lakh plus 9 into 0.35. So 13 lakh plus 3 lakh 15,000 would be 16 lakh 50,000. Yes. Now try giving conclusion for this particular part. Faster. We have completed net operating income, and with that we shall complete two of the approaches, right? Net income and net operating income. Yes. Now the question what I asked, what is the difference between a loan and a debt? Yes, anybody among you? What is the difference between a loan and a... Yes, welcome back to this session of strategic financial management. This. The third approach in the capital structure is traditional okay. The third one is traditional approach. What might be this? Traditional approach. See, you have understood two kinds. Yes, one is net income, one is net operating income. Yes, and you know what the tells. So, what might be this traditional approach? Faster. Any idea, or should I begin? Okay. Listen now. Whatever you'll have to write, either I would be dictating it or it is there in your handouts. But first listen. Now, NI and NOI, or net income approach and net operating income approach. When you take those two separate, those two are extreme ends. Why those two are extreme ends? Or in other words, those two are opposite. In which aspect they are opposite? That is, one tells capital structure is very much necessary. A small change in capital structure will have its effect on the value of the firm. Yes? Which tells that? Which of the approach tells that? Yes, I know, because I have taught. No, I'll have to tell it. First one. What is first one? Okay. Now, if you tell first one how the evaluator should think, what you are telling, he doesn't know, no, which one I taught first, which one I taught second. Okay. Net income approach considers that decisions of capital structure are very much necessary. So, what is this decision? Decision is nothing but how much portion should be debt, how much portion should be equity. That is the decision being taken. Okay. And they tell that according to the decisions, the value also will change. And when we solved all the problems, it could also be proven. Yes, and NOI, and net operating income approach, it stands at another extreme. It tells that your capital structure decision, or what you decide, how much should be debt, how much should be equity, is not going to affect your value of the firm at all. Along with that, it also tells that overall cost of capital, that is the main thing what net operating income approach tells, that the irrespective of debt and equity portion, the overall cost of capital is going to remain constant. Yes, and it gives reason also. Why? What is the reason? Why does net operating income tells that no matter what decision you take, how much should be the portion of two kinds of capital, your overall cost of capital is going to remain same. Why does NOI approach tells that? So like this directly, if I have to tell, I have to ask question also tell like this only. If I ask a little bit that side, no, there is no answer, isn't it? Why does it tells like that? Because it tells, yes, when you use debt, there would be some kind of benefit. But when you use debt, what happens is the risk of equity would be increasing. And this risk and the benefit are so inversely linked that it would stand at equal. That is to tell the benefit would be offset by the risk. Yes, that is why it tells that capital structure decisions are irrelevant. Now, these two are quite extremes, isn't it? Yes. or no? Yes. Now you'll also have to know why does NI approach tells that with every changing decision there would be change in the value of the firm. Can you do that work for me? Why does NI approach tells that whatever decision you take, it is going to affect on value of the firm. Why? Where have you done that? Where have you done that? You have taken three alternatives for NI approach. Go back and see its conclusion, you might find the answer. Have I given conclusion for NI approach any of the problem? Yes. What is it? NOI tells that the benefit would be offset by the risk of equity, whereas NI speaks only of the degree of leverage. Yes, what did I tell in the first session? Whenever we speak of leverage or degree of leverage, it simply means that the debt is there in the capital structure. So net income approach says the more and more debt, your working average weighted average cost of capital would go on decreasing. And because it decreases, the market value of the share increases and thereby the value of the firm increases. It does not consider the fact that investors will be having some kind of effect on the value of the shares also. That NI approach does not consider. That's why it tells that the more and more debt, the more and more benefit for the company. But NOI approach considers the effect of investors also, the perception of the investor. That's why it tells yes, when you use debt, there is benefit. But then the equity shareholder perception will have a different effect on the capital structure or opposite effect of the benefit. Now will you remember this? Otherwise, make a table. Write approach NOI, NI. Behind NI, below NI, right? It tells it affects capital structure. NOI, right? It doesn't affect. And give reason why. NI tells more and more degree of leverage, WAC falls down, and value of the firm increases because market value would be increasing. Whereas NOI tells that benefit is there, but benefit would be off because of the risk. What happens when risk is more? Equity shareholders would be expecting more return. That time we said cost represents the return on every kind of share. So more and more return is expected, less and less the value becomes. Okay. Now why did I tell so much? We have already finished it, no? Now, traditional approach is something which stands in between two. Okay? Now, to tell it stands, where it stands, you should know what are the other two, right? Midway through the two extremes. If you are not clear about the two extremes, how will you manage to tell what is the midway? Now I am repeating this time and again because over the years they have asked a theory question where they have asked you to tell regarding the approaches. That doesn't mean this year you will get it. You might, you may not, but it is the easy 15 marks which you can get. Okay? Wherein you'll have to speak regarding the four different theories. Fine? Yes. Now, how would be this midway between the two extremes? How might be this? Yes, midway simply means it will be having the features of net income approach also. It will be having the feature of net operating income also. So what features might be there and what features might not be there? It is a midway, right? So what might be there? Yes, faster. Any answer that I could get? Okay. Now, one thing you should remember is because traditional approach is a intermediate approach, it would be similar to both also, and it would be different from both the approaches also. Yes. Now, first listen. All those I will give. Okay. The first one is net income approach. When you take net income approach, how traditional approach might be similar to that? Now I said the features of both, right? Net income approach also, all the features I said. Net operating income of approach, all the features I said. And I am telling that this traditional approach or intermediate approach, in some of the aspects, it is similar to both the approach. In some of the aspect, it is different from both of the aspect also. Now let us consider net income approach. Can you make out some points how it is similar? It is similar in the sense it tells that yes, when you use degree, when there is leverage or degree of leverage in the capital structure, the value of the company is definitely going to increase. Okay, and that it affects cost of capital and valuation. That traditional approach definitely aspects. But then with net income approach, it will not accept the fact that the value of the company is necessarily going to increase. That is to tell, up till a certain point when you increase the debt, it is going to affect positively for both market value and value of the firm. But after that limit, it will start acting in a reverse direction. Fine. That is how it accepts NI approach some of the qualities and it not accepts some of the qualities of NI approach. What NI approach tells? The more and more you use debt, working weighted average cost of capital goes on decreasing. That is all NI approach tells. Traditional approach tells yes, all these things happens, but it need not necessarily happen. It need not necessarily happen in the sense after certain point it is going to cost more. And why it costs more, I have already said. You want to brush it up simply because the more debt is there in the company, equity starts to believe that the company is unable to take it in the form of equity. That investors are not having any of the you know faith in the company. That's why they are not investing. That's why company is forced to take in the form of debt. Usually, what is the faith in the faith of the investor in the company when they are equity? One is that they would subscribe for equity because they expect that there would be more earning. And if at all the company doesn't give dividend, they would be thinking that they would use the money in such a way that tomorrow when they give, it would definitely be worth more than they would be giving today. Okay? Yes, understood. Now the first part we took, that is NI approach, and we said how traditional approach is similar to NI approach and how is it different to NI approach. Similar in the sense in accepting all the features, that is the more and more degree of leverage, the working average cost of capital, there would be decrease, and that the market value would increase, and because of that value of the firm also increase. But it does not accept the fact that it necessarily have to be an increase. Okay, take a minute, try to put all that inside your head. Yes, now coming back to the other part of traditional approach, where it tells itself how is it similar to NOI approach and how is it different to NOI approach. Okay, from NOI approach or net operating income approach, it takes that beyond a certain point, okay, the overall cost of capital increases. Yes, it accepts the facts that overall cost of capital increases, resulting in the decrease in the value of the firm. Okay, that is what it takes from net operating income approach. But it is different from net operating income approach from the fact that it tells that overall cost of capital will remain constant for all degree of leverage. That is what NOI approach tells, right? Have you solved NOI approach? Whether K naught was same for all the three different things that you have taken in the third problem or second problem. Overall cost of capital, K naught. Go back and see. Last problem you solved it in NI approach. It is not net operating income approach. You can tell me wrong. Definitely I might be wrong. But the one who has written the textbook, how will you make them wrong? Okay? Yes, whether K is similar for all the three. That is what net operating income approach tells, right? Irrespective of what you decide, your overall cost of capital remains the same. That is, the benefit of one would be offset by other. That's why even though KE and KD might change, but K not remains the same under NOI approach. Yes, that that particular aspect traditional approach does not consider. Okay, the first part where it is similar is nothing but the end of the net income approach. Correct? Net income approach, it tells whatever it tells, but then you consider it that after a certain point cost is going to increase. That's how, that is what gave birth to your NOI approach. The same person, Durand, has given both, right? First he gave net income approach, because of the variance he gave net operating income approach. Now all these are linked. Fine. Too much for a day. Start writing, you'll understand more. The third one is traditional approach. Yes, net income approach or NI approach and NOI approach represents two extremes. See, you can see from the PPT and write. According to NI approach, debt content in capital structure affects both overall cost of capital, or you can always write K naught and V. You need not write such long words if you can grasp what you have written. Overall cost of capital and overall value of the firm. While net operating income approach suggests that capital structure is totally irrelevant so far as valuation of the firm is concerned. You can continue in next line. The traditional approach or the intermediate approach, the traditional approach or the intermediate approach is a midway between net income approach and net operating income approach. Okay, next take down how is it similar to NI approach and how is it different from NI approach. You can write this in your brackets. How is it similar and different to NI approach? The first one is that the traditional approach is similar to the traditional approach is similar to net income approach to the extent that capital structure or leverage affects the cost of capital and its valuation. However, it does not subscribe to NI approach that the value of the firm will necessarily increase will necessarily increase with all degree of leverage. Now, whatever explanation I gave for 5 minutes regarding NI approach, all that you'll have to remember when you see these 4 sentences or these 2 sentences. Fine. You'll have to know what do you mean by degree of leverage, and you'll have to know what does NI approach tells for that matter in the first case. Fine. The second one is, here they're telling how it is similar to net operating income approach and how is it different from net operating income approach. The second one is that it subscribes to the net operating income approach, the net operating income approach that beyond a certain degree of leverage, the overall cost of capital increases, resulting in a decrease in the total value of the firm. However, it differs from NOI approach in the sense that the overall cost of capital will remain constant for all degree of leverage. Yes. The traditional approach says that beyond a certain degree of leverage, the overall cost increases, leading to a decrease in the total value of the firm. Now, did you all understand what traditional approach tells? So, can anybody tell me, summarize it, or can anyone tell what is the essence of traditional approach? Yes. Is there anybody who can the essence of traditional approach lies in the fact that through judicial use of debt equity mix, a firm can increase its total value and thereby can decrease its overall cost of capital. Debt is a cheaper source of capital as compared to raising money by equity shares because of the tax advantage. However, beyond a point, raising fund through debt may become financial risk and would result in high cost of capital result in high cost of capital. Traditional approach, the value of the firm would be highest, where weighted average cost of capital would be in the least. Okay, understood the difference? Yes.